Hello, my name is Rachel Nip, and I'm the Director of Programs here at Parents for Public Schools of San Francisco. So today we're doing this quick video to talk to to talk to all of you who work directly with families about how to help them through the public school enrollment process in San Francisco Unified School District. So I'm here to share some resources with you as well as some quick tips. For those of you who are not very familiar with the school district enrollment process, it actually is very challenging for a lot of families. There are many deadlines, many steps, different documentations and forms that they might have to take. And so we rely on all of you as different service providers, family liaisons, school staff, and other people who work directly with families to help families understand what the next steps are. So as the families who are enrolling in the 2018-19 school year, so they'll wait to start school on August 20th in 2018. So this year, August 20th, they would have submitted their application forms sometime in January. And so for those families, they recently got their assignment letter for their first round of application process. In total, for SFUSD, there are actually 4 placement rounds. And so this is the very first. So after they get their assignment letter, the first thing that they have to do, there's a couple of next steps. They have to actually register at the school that they were assigned to confirm their placements. So many families that we work with over the years, they get an assignment at their choice school, but then they didn't register. Then what happens is that they will lose their registration and lose their spot at that school. So it's important for you to help families understand that that's the first step that they have to do, is that they have to register to confirm their placements. So there are 3 different categories or groups of families that you might encounter. The first group of families got their top choice school or their favorite school. So then what happens is that they just have to register and then wait to start school on August 20th of 2018. And they're done with the process. So that's the most ideal, but they still have to register to confirm their placement. Otherwise, they lose the spot. So we also recommend for families who got one of their top choice schools that then they check out more activities at the school, go for orientations, any events that are happening, so that they can connect with other families or other of their schools to learn more. The second group will involve families who got one of their schools that they like or got one of the schools that they listed on their application form, and then they're also trying to get a school that they prefer even more. So similar to families who are happy with the school, they just have to register at the school that they were assigned, and then they have to submit a round 2 or amended application form. And it looks like this. Oops, I dropped that. Sorry, 1 second. So it looks like this. And you can see is the 2018-19 amended application form, and it says May placement period. And so this is the form that they will use to submit for any schools or programs that they prefer more than where they were assigned. So use this form. They fill out their personal information and then the schools and programs that they prefer more than where they were assigned. So that's going to be their process and the form that they'll be using. So the third category of families involve the families who didn't get anything that they listed on their application form. So typically, they're the families who were designated a school by the school district. We highly recommend that they register at the school that they were assigned, because if they don't, what happens is that they might end up with no placement. And so that's kind of puts them in a worse situation. And so we need your help to advise families to tell them to register and continue in the process. Their application form is still going to be the same. They would be listing any schools that they prefer more where they were assigned on their application form. So if you can see on the application form, it only lists 10 boxes. So if they are wanting to apply to more than 10 choices, they would have to use the additional school choices form, which we'll show you how to get to all these forms later. But just as a description, this is going to be what they are using. So you can see here that it lists 11 onwards. So this is the form that they'll use if they're wanting to list more than 10 on their round 2 application form. And then so in terms of the process, this is kind of what the round 2 or May placement application will look like. Then there is also a process known as the appeal process. So sometimes a lot of families get confused because they say, well, we don't like our assignment, we're going to appeal. And so we need to differentiate the process between round 2 and the appeal process. So for the appeal process, there is a separate application form that they will need to submit. And this is what it looks like. And you can see here that it says 2018-2019 March appeal form. And so they would have to submit that. The appeals are actually divided into 2 categories. There is the medical appeal, which has to do with the child's medical situation. So it's a student's medical situation. Any other reasons will fall under the second category of family hardship. So in working through the appeal process, also help your families know that it is not as straightforward as just filling out a form. We like to help families understand that the appeal process is more like, presenting a case to a court. You need to provide documentation, a narrative that explains all of the circumstances, and then all of the documents or evidence that supports those that narrative of the reasons that are either the medical situation of the child or the family hardship. So those are kind of the 2 categories of the appeal, and that the process is much more complicated because then they have to go talk to their doctors possibly, or any other case managers, any other team that they're working with that might be able to help support their appeal case. So they would need to try to get on that as soon as possible. And all of that, the round 2 application and the medical appeal form, they're all due at the same time. They're all due on April 6, 2018, which is about a week from now. So tell your families, whatever documents that they need, they have to try to get that as soon as they can. And so that is for the March appeal form. So I'm also going to share some information about the next steps, in terms of what happens after you submit all those documentation. So if they have submitted all of that by April 6th, they'll be getting a notification letter sent to them on May 18th. So that's when they'll find out the decision for that. So also help families know in terms of the timeline, because there's so many dates and so many, it's hard for them to keep track. So the first one that they really have to focus on right now is the April 6th deadline, and they'll be getting a decision letter about all of either the round 2 or the appeal process. They'll be getting that notification on May 18th. So, it'll be sent on May 18th. So a couple of days after that, they should be receiving it. So that is the process. So now that you kind of know what the next steps are and that you can share this information with families, we're going to share some resources about where you can find those information. So all of the forms that I've talked about, they're available online, and it's at the district website, which is www.sfusd.edu, and we'll put that in the details in this video, so you can find that link afterwards down there as well. And then once you get to the main website of SFUSD, you would go to the tab on the side. It lists many subtopics. You would go to the one that says Enroll in SFUSD Schools, click that one, and then look for application forms. So once you click that one, it will show you all of the forms that I've talked about earlier, which is the round 2 amended application form, which looks like this. So this is the one that they'll be used to participate in round 2. You'll also be able to find the appeal form, which I talked about earlier. And that one looks like this. And it says the 2018 March appeal form. There is also the additional school choice form that will allow them to list anything more than 10 choices. And so this is the form that they'll use. There are also, if you see on the tab in terms of all the available forms, there are also additional forms that could be confusing to families. And so one of them is the revision form. So it looks almost exactly the same as the amended form. So you can see here that they're both almost exactly the same, except for the title. So the revision form is for families who have submitted an amended form, but let's say they forgot to list a school or they want to make changes to the schools. They would then submit a revision form if they want to make changes to their amended form. So this has caused some confusion for families. And so this is helpful for them to know that if they're submitting their round 2 application for the first time, they would use the amended form. If they're making changes to it, they'll use the revision form. So that's just a difference between the two. So that is a place where you'll be able to find all the forms. So again, it's www.sfusd.edu. Click the tab on the side panel, Enroll in SFUSD Schools, then look for the Application Form tab. And then once you click there, those are all the resources that are available. And of course, at Parents for Public Schools of San Francisco, we also have a lot of resources for families and services for you to refer them to us for help. We do have one-on-one coaching, and so they can always call us or email us or try to meet us in person, and we'll help them through their application process. We also have a lot of social media. So obviously right now this is our YouTube, and we've produced some YouTube videos to help families navigate the process for round 2 and beyond. So check them out and also forward them to families so that they can know in their, we provide them in different languages. So you can ask them to look at that as a resource to learn about the next steps. And then we also have Facebook. So a lot of the resources are also on Facebook. And we also hosted some Facebook live chats so we can answer questions in person. So those are some resources. If you work with any families who are, or any Chinese families, we also have a WeChat app and a platform that families are able to get one-on-one help. So if you're interested, we'll also post that below. Of course, I think there are also many non-Chinese families who use that app. It's just pretty common among Chinese families. So it's called WeChat. And so that's also a platform that they can, or an app, we have a handle that they can use. And it's PPS-SF, PPS-SF. And that's our handle for WeChat. And so if you have any other follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help families through this process. And we understand that it's very complicated, but we are very appreciative for all of you for helping us help families navigate this. So thank you so much, and I hope this was helpful. Bye.